And so to be compassionate, to be positive, to be happy, that's something that we have to work on. We have to
Yeah.
train ourselves to be that way because it's very, we're very survival based. It's those instincts that we have. So that's something that I encourage a lot of us to work on, trying to be happier instead of being dark and depressed.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the world's greatest podcast. Today's episode is crazy, phenomenal, excellent. Now, you might have seen this person out here in the ether of Arizona, floating around, making content, giving advice, encouraging you to be your best content creators and best selves. I'm going to pass the camera over to his side and let him introduce himself because I don't know if I can do it justice, but tell everyone who you are.
Yeah. So which camera am I looking at?
Oh, this is your primary. Hey there.
So I go by Waves. I'm an audio engineer, music producer, and activist at this point. Yeah.
Yeah.
Social worker. That's a little bit of who I am.
Yeah. Incredible. We got a lot to unpack there. I didn't know about the activism and the social work. That's incredible stuff. We had some activists on the show before, and
Awesome.
I applaud that. There's an applaud going on right now that here you opted out of headphones. But let's start with some music stuff too. Actually, let's start with your origin story. Tell people where you're from, what got you to Arizona if you're originally from here, and where you come from.
Yeah. So I'm from a little town called Douglas, Arizona, a border town. So I grew up there most of my life. About 18 is when I moved out. uh Moved to the Tucson area and kind of like jumped all over the place from there. Moved to Phoenix for a little bit.
Yeah.
um Really went nowhere with my life up until that point. I was just kind of trying to figure it out. And I when I turned 21, started partying a lot. I got introduced to clubbing and parties. And yeah, I felt like my life had no direction up until that point.
Yeah.
um I played in metal bands growing up, so I played a lot of music, different instruments, guitar, drums. I was the vocalist. That was
Yeah.
my thing.
Nice.
And so I was doing a lot of that, but up until I turned 21, I just felt like I lacked direction.
Mhm.
So my grandfather actually had passed away that year, and he was a Marine, as was my stepfather and some other relatives. At his funeral, or one of the services, they had this big celebration for him. There was a lot of people dressed in, Marine Corps uniforms, and I'm like, man, I felt like such a loser. Like, what am I doing with myself? I need to do something. And I felt in myself I needed to prove to myself that I was more than what I was.
Yeah.
So I enlisted, joined the Marine Corps. At the time, I had gauges, so my ears were a little big. I had to go to Mexico to get them closed up, which hurt a lot. And
Wait. How do they close up those? Do they have to scar it and then kind of?
yeah,
Yeah.
so they
Oh.
cut inside. They cut the inside. I remember when the doctor was cutting. I don't even know if he was a doctor, to be honest, but the guy, he was cutting the inside of it. He kind of gave me some numbing, something to numb it, and it wore off very quickly. So I felt most of it, and I just remember hearing this sound that sounded similar to like carrots being cut up, you know?
Mm.
It was really brutal.
Yeah, that's some ear trauma, man. But
Yeah.
you persevered through it. That's
Yeah.
the first Marine story of like you guys are tough.
Yeah, yeah, and it was interesting. So I joined the Marine Corps and, went through that whole thing.
Mhm.
While I was, in comm school, I was in communication, so when I was in the school for it, I remember wanting to get back to music so bad, but I was used to playing in a band, and there was no, accessibility to instruments really. There were some church bands that would play around when they had services on Sundays, but
Stars and Stripes, you know, join
yeah, I was like, I don't know, that's really me. So
Yeah.
I got a laptop and I got Logic Pro X, and I just taught myself how to produce from there. I
Yeah.
sucked. I was not good.
Mm.
I thought I was really good, but I think for the first probably 5, 6, 7 years of producing, I was terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then, throughout the Marine Corps, I served, just a little under 2 years. I was, medically separated,
Mhm.
and, so I'm a disabled veteran technically, which is really weird, but,
Yeah.
um
Thank you for your service. I
yeah,
appreciate
absolutely.
it.
And, I got out. I I moved back to Phoenix. I was working, just a bunch of different little things here and there, and I decided I wanted to go to school. I'm like, I think I wanna pursue music full time and really give it my all. At the time, I thought my production was, spot on. I'm like, "I just need this to get into the right hands."
Mhm.
Um, I ended up going to CRAS, to the Conservatory of Recording Arts and Sciences out here, and, met some really cool people, started learning more,
Yeah.
pushing myself a little bit more, learning what little things like a compressor does, an
Yeah.
equalizer, um, and yeah, I just started pushing music a lot more heavily. So, at that time, I think, I had been producing music for a couple years, um, and again, it really wasn't until, just a few years ago that I got decent at
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You put in the hours and
Yeah, for sure. Lots of trial and error. I
yep.
swear I hear something that I made a couple years ago that I thought at the time was like the best thing ever, and it's
Mhm.
awful. It's horrible.
Yeah.
I'm embarrassed to show it, so I probably won't share it. Yeah, and then I've been doing a lot of different work ever since. I ended up working at a nonprofit in
Mhm.
Tucson, um, with some kids in an underserved population in Tucson,
Mhm.
and, the organization that I was working for hired me as a music director. So I was overseeing the music program and then helping run some other programs as well.
Yeah.
So I taught these kids how to play. These were middle school kids at the time.
Yeah.
I taught them how to play in a band themselves pretty much, and we
Yeah.
we played different songs from Tennessee Whiskey
Yeah.
to Let It Be from the Beatles, like, just different things, and that was really cool.
Yeah.
At that time, I was, trying to network, get my music out to different people, and there was an A&R I had locked in with, and this was before Tory Lanez, got locked up and all that drama happened. But, this A&R had heard of one of the songs, one of the tracks that I made, and they wanted to send it out to Tory Lanez, and I'm like, "This is huge, like, let's do it, let's make this happen." Um, so it's kind of a long story, but just to kind of, touch on it a little bit, they they provided a laptop to me,
Mhm.
and they had told me, "Hey, we understand you need a laptop. We want you to do some video editing for us and some other things." And the laptop I had at the time couldn't handle anything else.
Yeah.
So they're like, "Get whatever you need. You're more than welcome to take it home. You can buy it from us at the end of all this. But get what you need for right now, that way you can take this on." So I did, I got a MacBook M1 Pro Max with,
Mhm.
like, it was like a 2020 or something,
Yeah.
and it had all the bells and whistles, so I was really excited about it. That's what I was producing on. My other laptop, just kinda threw it to the side. I'm like, "I don't need this for now." And, had some problems with the people running the organization, so actually my ex, it was her family that ran it, and her and
It
I decided to
is this
separate.
the nonprofit?
This is a nonprofit.
Okay. Where you were the music director?
Yes,
Okay.
exactly.
Yeah.
So, my ex, we decided to separate. We separated amicably. We're still good to this day. But that nonprofit, they did a lot of crappy things.
Mhm.
I showed up to work one day after, like, helping put on this really big event, that took weeks of planning. Once it was all said and done, after the end of the workday, they're like, "Hey, you can't leave, with this laptop. You can't leave, like, everything has to stay here, but this is your last day. It's not working out." And I had been there for about a year at that point.
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Whoa, like, where is this coming from?" So I was
Yeah.
crushed. I, you know, I revolved a lot of myself around that and, like, working with those kids and then the music that I had on that laptop. So I'm like, "Okay, well, let me gather my bearings. Let me pay for this laptop. I really wanna keep it. I
Yeah.
have a lot of stuff on it. I got this chance to work with Tory Lanez, like, I
Yeah.
can't miss this opportunity." And they were like, "No," like, very dismissive, like, "No, if you attempt to come back, we're gonna."
Yeah, legal action and all.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
I'm like, "Where is this coming from?" Like, so random.
yeah.
Had problems with them since, and, to this day, it's been nonstop, just problems. I'm
Are
looking to
are they considering it like company property?
at that point, they did.
Even the stuff you put on there?
Right.
Yeah, that's wild, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't even know the legality around that. Creating something because I do like software development. So sometimes I'll write a code or write something, and if it's for the company, even though I made it, it's their code.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it goes into their repository and they own it forever.
Yeah.
So one lesson though I do get out of situations like that is like ownership and just like
Definitely.
not being in a position where someone could be like, it's not working out.
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
my life is here, you know?
Yeah, that was a really, really big lesson that I learned, not to trust so easily,
Mm,
and unfortunately, ever since I've had my guard up, but
yeah,
it
yeah,
kinda it sucks, I really try to see the good in people,
yeah,
but it's a big reality check that not everybody has your best intentions.
yeah.
Yeah, and then, fast forward, we had a house together. We were trying to sell that house. She moved on
Mhm,
with her life. I moved on with mine. Trying to sell that house. The house was it was through a how do they put it? Through some sort of fund that they had.
mhm.
So they were like our the people that had our
It's like a
like
first time buyers program or something?
kind of it was a trust. I think it was a trust
Okay.
that they had, loaned us the money through,
Mhm.
and we bought a house with that trust when we had gotten together, and, we were in the process of selling it, and while doing that, they, foreclosed on the house.
Oh, no.
Yeah, they foreclosed on the house. That family really screwed me over bad. I'm still dealing with.
Dude, you've dealt with some crazy stuff here, man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
We're going to, send this episode to all of you that's hated on my mans here because this is not okay. Stop it. Get healed.
Stop it, yeah. No, it's been a lot. It's that family in specific, and I won't
Yeah.
drop names because
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
they do a lot of good things for the community.
Mhm.
It's just they're very, very rich, very, yeah, influential, I guess you'd
Yeah.
say,
Yeah.
and, yeah, they're very I don't know.
Yeah,
There's evil in this world,
I feel you. Yeah, there is I feel you articulating or at least the feeling of what you're expressing because of how the capitalistic structure of things, there are people that will step on you or not even be mindful of your circumstance to improve theirs.
Definitely.
And it doesn't matter if you're family, if you're related, if it's business partners, whatever it is. A thing at SongLab that I really preach for people to do and learn is like it doesn't have to be dog eat dog. It doesn't have to be cutthroat. Like you can ethically achieve your dreams and manifest things without having to play this business game of like taking people out in Game of Thrones and all that shit. Like,
Agreed.
you
Yeah,
know what I mean? And so I know like America, that's like it's competitive. You know what I mean? They don't really teach us much collaboration. Um it's more competitive. So
it is.
unfortunately, yeah, we got to deal with people and their baggage and how they get their needs met. You know what I
Right.
mean? Manthos hierarchy of survival.
Definitely.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, it really is, and that's what it comes down to, I
yeah,
feel like humans, we're not wired to we're wired for survival. Our
hmm,
instincts are to protect ourselves and be selfish. We're selfish, you
yeah,
know, creatures at the end of the day.
yeah,
And so to be compassionate, to be positive, to be happy, that's something that we have to work on. We have to
yeah,
train ourselves to be that way because it's very we're very survival based. It's those
yeah,
instincts that we have. Um, so that's something that I encourage a lot of us to work on, trying to be happier instead of being dark and depressed,
yeah,
and it's difficult. It's
yeah.
difficult, but yeah, I like I said, I really try to look at the good in people, the
Hmm.
light in people. I think everybody has that in them.
Yeah.
But on that same token, myself included, we have those selfish tendencies,
Yeah.
those negative tendencies.
Yeah. Ego. It's just your ego and
Yeah.
how it expresses itself. You know what I'm
Yes.
saying? We got Dominique that wanted to join us. I'm gonna go let her in. And then I want to talk more about the music you're working on, the type of content you put out and stuff like that. So we're gonna pause right here. We'll call this part 1. So come back for part 2. Two, 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 two.
You will hear me complain. I will not complain until then. I'm gonna be very conscious.
No, I start complaining.
I feel
Be
that.
grateful that it's not 110.
I do that because if you start now, by the time it gets hotter, it's gonna increase the heat.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
You're gonna feel it in your core.
I love that because literally on the way here, I was like, it's warm. Then I looked, I said 93. I said, I am so grateful that it's 93, only 93 degrees.
Yeah. Perspective for sure.
Mhm.
All right, so we're gonna get started. Welcome back, everybody. You just saw part 1, and whoa, we have another person that's popped up right here. Where did she come from? I don't know.
Heaven.
Abracadabra.
Y'all already
Popped
know.
up. So, came from heaven right now. You know what I mean? Visit us real quick.
Nique The N Voice checking in live and direct. It wouldn't be an episode of SongLab Live if I didn't make some sort of entrance, a comment, but the visual representation is always better, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Present.
I appreciate you so much. You've been holding us down with these episodes. And
I can't
talking
even
to people.
wait. People have no idea what we have in store.
Yeah.
And this right here
Yeah.
is even more testimony to what's coming.
Yeah.
What did I miss?
So,
Dumping.
yeah.
Hey.
He says trauma dumping. So this is going to be your primary camera if you want to talk to the audience. So we got his origin story. We got, how he got started in music. He was a musical director. Are you still a music director?
No,
not anymore. And then just as, how the passion kind of began for him and then some of the obstacles that he's dealt with just in the beginning part. Still want to get into some of his activism because he does activism. And then also he's an audio engineer that makes music. And of course he makes really inspiring content.
Yeah.
So it's
Very
like,
much so.
yeah, when I saw his content, to me, it didn't matter whether he had 1 billion followers or 1 follower. I'm like, this guy is going hard with it. Like, you know what I mean?
The message is there.
The message is there. So I was like,
And the quality's there too.
Quality. Yeah, definitely. So
You already know. So we actually became acquainted through the live music reviews hosted by the one and only Juno.
Oh, shout out Juno.
And Ronnie.
Yeah.
So big shout out to them. Locals only, Charisma Collective. They are doing big things in the world. And we just became friends through the comments. And then we got to see each other in person for the first time at the block party, actually.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and
dope.
it's funny because I already knew who he was because I low key be stalking people, but you'll never know that I'm stalking you. And so he was like, and I was like, if you want to come over here and give me a hug and act like we don't know each other, like we go way back, because we go way back.
Yeah.
And so, Waves is his own individual and he's all about uplifting the community, which, that's on brand for everybody in the room.
Yeah. The fact that you know him also just lets everyone else knows that your network goes crazy.
The network going crazy.
Network goes crazy. So, do you go by Waves? Do I call you Waves? Okay.
Waves, is the music production stuff, and Dre's is what everybody else called me.
Everyone else calls you Dre.
Oh,
Okay.
I only know Waves.
You don't know Waves? But I only know Dre.
But
so
they be
I'll call you
forgetting about Dre. How they forget about Dre?
Right.
So tell us about what you're working on currently right now and kind of what projects you're working on or, what your content's also based on.
Yeah. So right now, lots of different things. So I was working with refugees for about 2 years, and because of everything going on, federal funding cuts, I was furloughed, and so I lost my job.
Is this recently?
February.
Oh, wow.
February, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of those cuts started
Is that with the administration change? Is that?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty much, yeah. And it was directly because of that. So one of the last things that I did So one of the things that I did while I was working with refugees was getting co-sponsors, so people that were at churches or just in the community to work with these refugee families.
Yeah.
And one of the families, I think it was the last day, one of the last families that I was able to get partnered with a church. Um, it was a family, I want to say of 8 or 9. It's been a while. I can't remember. Single mom. I believe they were from Sudan,
Mm.
and they had just, been tossed around different countries. Um, I believe the last country they were in was Egypt, and they just faced so much discrimination out there. They said it's the discrimination is very real in other
Yeah.
countries. Um, the mother feared, her son, who was 15, tall kid, looked like he could be a basketball player. Um, she feared that he would get killed, just walking out of their front door. So when they came here to the United States, it was like, oh, we're saved. We're gonna be okay finally. And they come out here, and they were one of the last families that we had received. So when they got here, we were kind of telling them, hey, we're sorry, but we're not receiving any more federal funding. We can't pay your rent. Figure it out. And so they're just on edge. The mom, once again, is in fear for their children leaving their house. She has, I think the eldest was 15, the youngest was a toddler, just barely walking.
Yeah.
And how does someone like that survive?
Yeah.
How does somebody make anything happen? So I partnered them with a church, an amazing church out in Tucson, and they've really taken care of them a lot. Yeah.
I love the happy ending.
Yeah, so they've really, really taken care of them. So anyway, my reason for bringing this up is the activism. I've been trying to. I got pissed. I've always been very quiet, and whatever happens, happens. As far as like politics goes, I'm still kind of like, I'm not a very anti anything, so I'm not negative Trump. I'm not negative Republicans. I'm not. I don't want to hate on anybody.
Right.
I just want to spread awareness and show love. I'm pro immigrants. I'm pro people. I'm pro humans. So that's where I'm at. That's my whole message. And so I got pissed, and I'm out at these protests. I started going to them in February. Found myself in DC at the Capitol going to a protest out there soon after. And I've just been going to them. I think I'm sunburned right now because I was just on at one yesterday. So, that's something that I've been working on a lot, trying to spread that awareness. And I'll go live primarily on TikTok at these protests, and I'll get a lot of people joining in, and I'll get some people that are supportive, like, oh, thank you for being out there. Like, what you do is amazing. But for every like one positive comment I get like 50 people just like hating, and they're like, oh, go Trump, and y'all need to be deported, and somebody call ICE. And I'm like, I'm not even here for that. Like, if you're with Trump, cool. I hope he helps you. I hope he helps us as a people. But I'm just here trying to spread awareness and solidarity.
Yeah.
I felt very alone in my anger, and when I went to a protest for the first time, it was like, okay, there's other people out here too that share the same beliefs. So that solidarity is really important. So that's something I've been working really hard on, trying to get that out there. And as far as music goes, my social media, I try really hard to separate my personal life from the music stuff.
Yeah.
So it's all mainly music. You won't see anything about like my pets or my family really. It's just music. But this is something I felt very passionate about. I felt like I have to voice it.
Yeah.
And
I feel like, as far as if we are going to dive just a little deep with you being waves, we want to talk about frequencies and the power of sound and music, how influential it is, and how you can really carry a message like that through your lyrics, through a song. So are you now in a space where you're incorporating the two?
Definitely trying to. I've put out a couple videos where I'm like encouraging people to make music that means something.
Yeah.
And whatever they're passionate about. I don't try to like spark, like, make it about this, make it about my beliefs, make it about your beliefs. I do music reviews on TikTok pretty often, and I'll always get music sent to me. And it's always, not always, I need to refrain from saying that, but it's very common that it's music that imitates something that's already out there with the same themes, and there's just no passion behind it. There's no purpose behind it. It's just kind of like, I'm doing it because I heard this song and it sounds really
Really
cool.
good. Right.
I want to be that.
Right.
I want to be that. Like, no, like, be yourself.
Yeah.
Share yourself, what your message, what you got going on.
Well, I think with everything, fashion, music, just art in general, art imitates life. So we're constantly going to always refer to the past. So it's always going to come back in one way or another. Really innovative people find a way to make it their own, to make it authentic.
Definitely.
So even when you look at some of the music that was cool or hip when I was a little bit younger, bringing it back to the 99 to 2000s, there was a lot of sampling and all of that going on, but people made it their own. Now I feel like people are just lazy and they're like, I really like this hook, I'm gonna take it and that's it. And there's no sense of creativity to it. They're using the same melody, the same cadence in verses and everything. So it's kind of finding that balance between authenticity and paying homage to what already came before us. And with the younger generation, we just have to lead them a little bit better, and they have to be open to criticism and us as well, right? So
Absolutely.
being a little bit more open to how they're doing it, because how they do it, there's always going to be, it's always going to get better. How do we get more people to be intentional with their message? I think that's what we kind of need to focus on.
I agree.
How do you do that? Through your content and your music, and then just your activism in general?
So I think it happens more through the lives, and I can't say for certain because I don't know. I've had a couple people tell me that those lives, those music reviews have helped shape their music a little bit, which is awesome. But I try to provide constructive feedback, advice, like, hey, why don't you try doing this instead of doing this? Like, I've heard this before. Why not try doing this? And so I really try sculpting in that way. When I was younger, I was in metal bands, and I remember, yeah,
the hair is so dead.
The hair tells, it gives it away, yeah. But I was in metal bands when I was younger, and I remember my mom sent my music to the lead singer of this band that I really liked. They were called Disturbed, and the vocalist listened to it, and he commented on it.
Disturbed listening to the music?
Huge.
Yeah, I think I was like
just glossed over it.
It's like, what?
Yeah, I think I was like a freshman in high school or so.
Wow.
And the guy listened to it, and I thought we were amazing. I'm like, yeah, he heard it. Oh yeah, he's gonna sign us or whatever. I don't know.
There. Yeah, we're in
yeah, we made it. So he very kindly provided some feedback, like, hey, he sounds good. Like, tell him to keep practicing. I can definitely hear him going somewhere. I don't remember exactly what it was said, but it was very encouraging. And I listen back to that song now. It's awful. It's terrible. It's bad. But because of his words, I kept going. Yeah, I didn't stop. And I know that if it was something else, if it was anything negative, if it was like, to tear me down or poke fun at the song, I probably would have stopped then and there with music.
Yeah.
So my whole thing is, trying to uplift and encourage people and provide constructive feedback. I might point out a problem, but then offer a solution at the end.
Yeah.
So that's my whole thing, trying to get people to, be more passionate and purposeful with their songs. It's through those lives.
Yeah.
Trying to be like, hey, well, let's talk about you. Like, what have you been through?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yo, I would like to have you come back on the show. You came all the way here from Tucson, so you can hang out here in the studio. I don't know if you want to mix something or make a beat, but you can hang out for a while. I'm gonna be here for a while. We got another person we got to bring up right now to interview. So I really appreciate you coming here, sharing your story. sharing, everything that you went through and where you are today. And then we still have so much more to unpack. So thank you. Can you tell everyone where they can find you on social media and how they can connect with you?
Shameless plug.
Yeah. Waves the Creator on everything. At Waves the Creator. That's it.
Instagram, TikTok. What days do you do your TikTok lives?
I try to do it as often as possible.
Okay.
I don't have a set schedule, which
Okay.
I know is really bad, but I'm just so busy getting pulled left and right to different things. So
Yeah.
catch me when you can.
I'll drop links down here, guys, so you can click on those and follow him and stuff. All right, cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
Plays this off.
Right.
Nique The N Voice checking in live and direct as your new host for SongLab Live. As a professional hype woman, I love to help creatives and entrepreneurs actualize their vision. If you have a story that you would like to share, go ahead and hit me up in the DM. That is the only reason that I want you in there, so I can have you in here with me, right here in the hot seat.